I think the course offered me the ability to ground what I'd already been doing in something more academic and more practiced, and to connect up with people who are doing similar things and learn from them and collaborate, because before I was doing it by myself, making it up as I went along. I had my own personal ethics, but I didn't feel backed up. I thought that if someone questioned me, it's only really just what I think, and is that enough really? So the MA gave me more of that foundation.
Doing an MA in applied drama, doing an MA in anything, I think a lot of it, it's just being thoughtful for a year or 2 years. It's just really thinking about something for that long. To me, I think anything that you put that much thought into and you really study for that amount of time will always enrich whatever practice it is that you're doing. Like you could do fine art, you could have done an MA in, I don't know, you could have done an MA in anthropology or whatever, and it's still a level of thought that's gone into something, and as long as you're applying that to everything you do and you know what you're doing comes from, I think it's much of a muchness.
Yeah. I think on the course I learned so much theory that I might have got in practice if I'd spent years and years and been incredibly self-motivated. I might have learned it through practice, but the best way for me was to learn it through an MA, and I think that's actually the only way you can really do it. And in the institution I studied at especially, we're really prompted to be incredibly rigorous in our thinking, and we had a support network of lecturers and peers around us to really scrutinise the theory that we learnt, and we learnt how we could apply that to our practice, and I couldn't really have done that in any other way. I think the university is the best place for this level of study because I don't know where else you'd get it. I really do think there's so much sort of sociological and artistic and sort of community-led and academic sort of force behind the applied field that it really needs to be in an institution which supports and recognises and encourages that completely. I don't think it could be done anywhere else.
Agreed, yeah.
But actually there's a really, really important element of our training that's an intellectual training, so they get the rigour of thinking that you'd get at another university down the road somewhere, alongside a lot more time in practice.
Yeah.
It offered me security and confidence in this thing that I did that I didn't really know that it had a name, and I didn't really know anyone else that did it. So it just offered me a huge network of people, confidence, and also a sort of platform to actually move my career further on. And I had exactly the same, and I still do, people saying you're a teacher or an actress, and it's funny because when I was younger those were the two jobs I wanted to do, and I feel like I have found something in the middle. But even though people still don't really understand when I say I do applied drama, I feel like I'm part of something, and something quite solid that I can say yes, there's this thing and there are these people that do it, and it's been going on for this long.
And they're also working alongside somebody who might have had 10 years of practice and are coming to do an MA because they want to make sense of what they're doing, which I wrote up on one of those little things that where have I actually learned from, and one of the ways I've learned is because I've had to analyse my practice because of my job. So I've had to make sense of it so that I'm not reinventing the wheel, and I'm understanding why things worked and why that moved on from one thing to the other. And it does make my brain hurt. And if I didn't have to do it, I'd have to have a lot of free time to think, oh, I'll go and do that because it hurts. But actually I'm so grateful that I've had to do that because it's been the most rewarding bit of learning. So, but it takes time, it takes space, so that you also have the MA student who's coming because they want a sense of space to be and a structure within which they have to do that because it's so hard to do on your own. And yet the MA is so full and crammed with so many things that this space, so they're wanting actually what I think is space, and don't get it, and so that's also part of the anxiety. I think that the field gets bigger and bigger and there's more and more to learn, but actually really They probably just need a week to sit quietly on their own without any kind of task other than think.
But I felt that although I'd picked up bits of training along the way, I hadn't had a rigorous training in being in applied drama, and that I didn't know the foundations of it, the theory behind it, and the MA really filled up that gap really in my professional life actually, and it also it gave me a network of people, which I'd got in pockets because I worked for different organisations and with their own networks, but I don't know, I suppose it gave me a slightly different, an academic and a theoretical perspective rather than just a practical perspective, and it contextualised everything I was doing and gave me much more confidence, and also allowed me to reflect on my practice and hopefully make it better, and it continues to do that.
You then eventually got a proper job, a professional job, which was Upstream's Children's Theatre, and working with someone like Rosemary Poole, who would happily take you under her wing and see you as someone who's still well, young and inexperienced, so with room to grow and potential, and she would guide you as much as she could in her way, and because you're eager, your mind is open, so you're trying to learn because you're thinking, I don't know anything, and then as at that point of view, still not knowing anything, you're told to go and do things on your own, and you're thinking, oh my God, what do you do?
The most important thing that Birmingham gave me, I know what the most important thing was, it really pushed me to think. It pushed me to think and it pushed me to reflect. And that will get you through anything, I think. If you're prepared to sit down and analyse and reflect and really, really push on that, you will get through the problems.
My engagement with the course has really enriched my ability to critique my own work, to play the long game a little bit and understand what the impact might be sensitively on the people who we'd be working with and on the participants. And it's helped me to hone a language with which to describe those things with the person who might be co-facilitating with me.
I might like to do an MA, only because the invitation to reflect is a really valuable one, and the danger is that when you're in practice is that you don't reflect, and so you sort of tumble on, and I think that might be very, very interesting, just to have time to stop and think.
I also read stuff that I didn't agree with as well, and I also I think I was able to carve out more of a professional identity for myself than I had before, and I worked out what I was most interested in and what I wasn't as interested in, and I think it also taught me to be more to understand what I was doing more, and to reflect on what I was doing in the room and why things worked sometimes and why they didn't work, and what was important and what wasn't. Just to reflect on my practice more, and to be more rigorous, but to sort of understand it more, understand it when it worked well and understand it when it didn't work so well.
The process of linking your ideas with the ideas of other people, of making something that was coherent to people from outside, made it important, and made it not in abstract discussion. We had to make ideas come to life and there was a bit of locking horns both this year and last, but I thought that was really important and useful in terms of how I can now connect projects and now connect ideas to make pieces of theatre as well.
I felt that the MA really supported me in discovering what my practice was and linking all those different parts in my life together to create my own practice, so not emulating someone else's, but actually making the practice of Anna Bosworth and making that make sense and rigorous and a kind of truth, a reality in my own life.
I think that the other key things in terms of my informal learning, I think I'm a naturally reflective learner. I think I've always been a naturally reflective learner. I do tend to kind of want to do the post-match analysis. You know, I think I've got a natural tendency, if I've done anything, to go, well, what did you think of that? And how did, you know, so I think it's a very natural tendency for me. But I think that because I've been very committed to evaluation as a process, I think that has developed my reflective learning and taught me more about reflective learning and how to do that. And I think that means that I've always got a self-learning monitoring process, or at least I hope I have, that is saying, well, what did I learn from that project? Or what did I learn from that experience?
We've become reflective people, I think. I think in a sense, all the reflecting on the MA has made me need to reflect more now, which that's probably a good thing. I don't think that I think there's a difference between evaluation and reflection, and I think that a lot of the work that I do now involves an opportunity to evaluate, but not necessarily an opportunity to reflect.
I've given the impression, I think, that all of my learning has been experiential, and it hasn't been. You know, I'm a great reader and learning in that way. But I think with all of the people that I've worked with, I think there's been a number of things. I think it has been predominantly experiential, and I think probably I like learning experientially, that the complexity of experiential learning is fascinating to me, because then you can kind of go, oh, it's not quite as simple as it says in the book, is it? It doesn't quite work in the way that, it doesn't quite work in the way that it says in the book, and I quite like that.
You can't get that in books and even on course, you sit in a lecture about this is what you do. It goes like this, but you've got to see it in practice.
I went to some lectures at UCL. They have these free anthropology lectures, and I went to two with all the anthropology students, and I was like, it's just, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's this very sort of heavy, theory-based kind of way of working doesn't really work with me, and it makes me feel stupid, actually.
I think that I'm a learner. So if anybody says to me there's a course or there's something that you can learn, or you could come on a residential, or you could be part of this, I think I just took every opportunity that anyone gave me. So it could be anything from youth workers saying, oh, we're having a bit of a conference, would you like to come along to that? I'd go to that. I did a week's course with Boal at one point, anything that came up that I thought, oh, I might be able to get in on that, or I might be able to do that. I am just a magpie. So I was just really, really interested in anything that came up. Short courses, I worked with dance therapists at times. I worked with, all kinds of people where I was just a bit like yourself. I was just directed. If something sounded like it was interesting, I'd kind of have a go at it and learn that way.
I'm somebody who likes to go like this and then find the connections, as opposed to going like this.
Just being inspired was crucial. You just meet some really inspirational people on that course, in the course, and that come in to teach you, and that you have your placement with. So yeah, part of the crucial thing for me was just that being inspired by a whole bunch of different people.